So all three components of man suffered fall, suffered reduction in quality because they were all separated from God at the fall of man. Now let's consider the interactions. Or prior to that, know that at salvation, it is the spirit that is renewed. The spirit is renewed, and once the spirit is renewed, it receives supernatural strength that strengthens your mind to say no to sin, say no to rebellions against God. That's why God said, I will take away the heart of stone, which was formed after the fall. The heart of stone was not there before, prior. Adam lived in obedience until the fall. God said, I will take away the heart of stone and give you a new heart. A new heart. So it is the spirit that is renewed in salvation. Remember, Ephesians 4:23 and 24. Put on the new man, the renewed spirit of your mind. Be renewed in the spirit of your mind. That man that was created after the image of God. So your mind is naturally, from birth, unfruitful, naturally unschooled until you begin to receive knowledge and until you come to the point of salvation. Two things. Until you receive knowledge and until you come to the point of salvation. Because if you acquire knowledge but you're not saved, you're still subject to the desires and lusts of your flesh. That's why the two are important. And if you come to the point of salvation and you don't acquire knowledge, you will still be subject to ignorance. Because it is your spirit that is saved. Therefore, you come to the point of salvation and you acquire relevant knowledge from the scriptures, from Christian literature, from relevant books of knowledge to help your mind, to help your habits, eating habits, character and lifestyle. Because every man essentially has God as his source. So at a very basic level, there's a conscience somewhere. That is why we can still read certain books that are written by unbelievers, so long as they maintain form and alignment with what is right. Alright? So, in conclusion, let us consider the interactions between the spirit, the soul, and the flesh. The interactions between the spirit, the soul, and the flesh. The spirit gives information to the mind, and the flesh also gives information to the mind. Let me explain that. God ministers to the mind through the spirit. The devil ministers to the mind, supplies information to the mind through the flesh. I'll break that further down. God brings revelation, relevant knowledge, instructions, corrections, inspiration to man through his spirit. He speaks to the core of man, which is his mind, through his spirit. The devil, on the other hand, brings temptations, brings lusts to man, to his mind, through his flesh. So the mind receives from both the flesh, that's the body, the fallen body, and man also receives from his spirit, from God. Man receives from the flesh, and man receives from his spirit. On the flesh side is the devil, inspiring, tempting, bringing lust. On the spirit side is God, attempting to renew us, attempting to inform us, attempting to transform us. And the mind is the center for the operations of man, because everything you do comes from your mind. They are all premeditated. They are all from your cognition, from the much you know. This is why it's important to gather relevant knowledge. As we conclude, let me say this. Man falls or stands with respect to the level and the strength of his mind. The mind is part of the soul. So man falls or stands with respect to the level and strength of his mind. And what I mean by level and strength is level in terms of level of knowledge, experience, exposure, level of intelligence that man has. That's one, but not all. Two, the strength of your mind. The strength of your mind comes from salvation. The strength of your mind comes from salvation. That's why you can be intelligent and still fall for lust, because there's no strength in your mind from salvation, from God. And like I said earlier, if you have strength, if you have salvation, your mind will be strengthened. But if you do not have enough knowledge, you can still fall, because at salvation, your spirit is renewed, but your mind is still uncultured, still unschooled. It needs relevant knowledge.